I chose Wix for my business because of its massive scope for functionality and
Good afternoon. So, coming on live, I usually, what did I do here? Okay. I usually come on live daily because I really have to talk about what I have gone through, what I have been going through, and what other people are going through. I have a YouTube now, God's Way. I think it's been, 2 months now that I've been on YouTube. Realized that there's a huge gang stalking community. I went through the bulk of it alone. And I guess right at the point where it didn't really bother me too much anymore was where I found the rest of the gang stalking community. Which is really sad that there's a whole community of people out there that share different things that they're going through, things that they've gone through. They share ideas for other people. Above all else, this is a really grueling process. Being gang stalked is like insane. I think that there are people, speaking of my city, Toronto specifically, I think there are people that have heard about it or maybe know people who've gone through it. I don't think people know in detail like what it's about or what it feels like. I have a video on my YouTube that talks about what it's like being gang stalked in detail. And I essentially just give sort of like, I itemize the things that have happened. And I'm really itemizing them in really sort of like a way of just taking stock or taking inventory of everything that's happened. Not so much giving the emotional side of what has happened and the mental toll that something like this has. And I will go into that at some point as well. I want to start from the beginning, and I want to talk about what this thing is as far as like what I've experienced. Hey YouTube, check out Can Boutique for super trendy dresses and genuine furs on clearance as low as 70% off. Prices starting as low as $27 Canadian. Visit www.shopcan.com. Experienced. So, I've been gang stalked by a man named John Ferreira. As soon as John Ferreira entered my life went upside down. Not right away. I want to talk about what he is and what his company is, like what gang stalkers actually are, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't quite have a concept of. So essentially gang stalkers are, and people who run gang stalking or organize gang stalkers or organize for other people to be gang stalked, like John Ferreira. If you want to think of it kind of like, think of mob movies and think of the people in the mob that are the muscle, the people who essentially enforce, whatever the mob wants to happen. Think of it like that. So essentially what he is he could be murder for hire. It could be kidnapping, it could be poisoning you, it could be taking you out of business, forcing you out of a location. Whatever it is, there is a specific target for why this is happening to you. So that is the first thing that you kind of want to figure out, like what is the intended purpose of all of this happening. And yes, I just said murder for hire. They may just bully you, to downright like threaten your life, to downright taking it. I definitely believe that they have taken people's lives before, for sure. Absolutely, 100%, without a doubt. These are people that operate without any sort of moral code whatsoever. There is no low that is too low, and there's nobody whose money that they don't refuse. Their services are for hire, and someone can come to them and decide, I don't want this person to exist anymore. I don't want this person in my location anymore. I don't want this person in my house anymore. This tenant is giving me problems. I don't want to be married to this person anymore, whatever it is. And they pay a fee, they give their specific intention, and John Ferreira and his band of thieves go about destabilizing this person. In the meantime, they get to collect whatever collateral damage is left on the floor. So say, for example, your house. They're destabilizing you. They'll knock you out of the house. They'll come and they'll buy the house for very cheap, maybe live in it for a bit, and then sell it back at a profit, make money off of it. You have Rolexes, designer things in the house. They'll take that as well. Whatever it is that they can take from you, they'll steal it as well. They'll just clean up and take whatever they can. When they move around you, they definitely behave like you don't matter. They don't care if you know or not. They do it in your face because they don't think you're gonna be around long enough to protest, to any of that. Once they decide what area you live in, they've already gone ahead and pre-bribed the police. They've already paid for the police not to take reports. They've already paid for reports, like literally not take the reports, not just not take the reports seriously or not investigate the reports, like not take the reports. Like I had to fight really hard just for my report, a formal report to be taken. So in the report room with the camera on video, I had to fight for that to happen. So they've already gone ahead, and I don't know, and whatever, investigator or whatever is on your case, detective, whatever they call it, whoever's on your case and they know who's on your case, they start gang stalking that individual. They start following them home. The person, the investigator goes from curious, like, oh my God, this sounds like something is going on, all the way to telling you nothing's happening and they don't want to take the report and they get rid of you. I mean, so bad that I've sat in the station for 45 minutes to try to give a report, and they wouldn't let me give the report. And after 45 minutes, I got up and I left. And then they showed up, the police made a presence to show up at my store, which was where I was going, in the food court of Oakville Place Mall. It was definitely police 100%. And they sat all around me. And I remember, because at that time I was in communication with John Ferreira, and I asked, like, why would the police be gang stalking me? Like, is this, what kind of crap is my ex involved in? And he was like, well, maybe they're just scared for their life. So it's definitely a situation that's existed long enough, and it's very frightening. And I mean, if the police are it's not just bribes. It's like local police do not want to take the report. It's definitely because these people have had such a stronghold in the community, and they've had such a consistent track record of being able to destabilize human beings. Now, part of the reason that I present such a challenge is because none of the intended effects of gang stalking have worked on me. So I have not lost my mind, which is the first thing that happens when you're being gang stalked. You absolutely lose your mind, because just the idea that you are being gang stalked, just the idea that people are following you all around, that people are hacking your devices and they know where you're going and all of this stuff, just the idea is already takes a person out of what they consider to be a normal environment and puts them into just like a place of paralysis in a way, where they just, you're kind of out of it. On top of that, I can only speak for myself. I'm sure there's different intents and purposes with everyone. For me, a lot of things were attacked. My social network, my business was attacked. The intention was for me to lose everything. So the best way I can describe it, in astrology, there are 12 houses, and each house represents part of your life. Your career, your personal relationships, your home life, your family life, your love life, your personal image. And in my case, all 12 houses were attacked. Now, the way that they do this, which is very different in gang stalking, is that they don't want you to know that it's them doing this. They don't want you to know who's doing this to you. They just want you kind of like chasing your tail, fighting yourself, making reports, not knowing who, figuring like who could possibly be doing this to me, etc., etc. Now, most people have a very broad social network, and it's kind of difficult. They'd have to go down a pretty long list to kind of figure out like who wants problems with them. But for myself, I keep my grass very low, and I always know who's in and who's out and who's the last one in, and it takes years for me. I know that's odd. It takes, or unusual, not odd, just unusual. It takes years for people to enter my circle. And there are people who I've known for very many years, and they are never going to be in my circle. I could know them for 20, 30, 40 years. It won't make a difference. I don't often see the need to have people close to me. So for me, I knew right away it was John Ferreira. I knew right away it was Daisy Porras. And I knew right away all the different people that were coming around and all the different people that would have been a part of this, because I just know how I live. But I think for the average person, they wouldn't know. They would have absolutely no idea, no clue who it is that's doing this. This is a person who there's no way to say it. It's just the reincarnation of Satan. That's how I see this person. I have, regardless of, you watch documentaries, murder mysteries, whatever they are, and they talk about someone who's so evil, who's so duplicitous, who's such a liar, who's such this, who's such that. And I still feel like I've experienced something worse than all of that. John Ferreira has, to me, pedophile energy. He has rapist energy. He has stalker energy. Like, not someone who's made a decision to be a stalker, but someone who is born a stalker and doesn't understand that they're stalking. Like, it's just a part of his personality. He has serial killer energy. There is just no low he wouldn't go to. If someone said that he eats feces and drinks blood, I would believe it. I'm not just saying that because he's gang stalked me. Someone can gang stalk you and you might think they have standards based on the way that they are. But I'm saying based on the way that he is and how I experience his energy, I just, like, absolutely nothing would surprise me about him. It's not to insult him. I'm speaking about my experience. If they say that he kills babies and eats their parts, I would believe it. I just don't think there's any low that he would not go to. And again, there are people who kill people, and I wouldn't think they would want to be in a dirty room. I would think that if they were in a dirty room, that they're the type of person who needs to be like well dressed all the time and have designer this and that. And this is not because he's gang stalked me. This is the kind of personality that I have experienced, that I have seen. It is terrifying. Terrifying to think that human beings are like that. Although in a way I am grateful that I encountered it, because I think I very much had a much, I wouldn't have thought people were like this. So I'm glad that I know that they are. This person, and I don't think he's devised gang stalking on his own. I think he follows a formula, because I think gang stalking exists, all over the world for different reasons. But he has happily, put together groups of people who, happily go along with destabilizing people. I don't know if people know the full extent to what they're doing, but I think they do know. I think at some point they do. And I think by the time they realize what they're doing, they also can't leave, because they've been a part of this, and them leaving would cause them to maybe have to go to the police or do certain things, and they know how bad it is. I know that they know how bad it is, and it's terrifying. And people also know that when they leave this gang stalking thing, that they will make no money, that these people will be on their ass for a very long time. So a lot of people do stay, and they do continue to participate. They follow people, they use fake license plates, follow people around, they do a lot of things. And it's like, I've come to the point with how long it's gone on that I kind of look at people not so much willing participants, but doing what they have to do. I think new people find it funny, and I think people who have been doing it for a while just have to live with and come to terms with the fact that this is what they're doing for a living, because they can't leave. Because if they leave, the rest of the group will turn on them and will gang stalk them, take everything from them, destabilize them. And he said to me himself, he said, the only way you can leave is with nothing. He said that to me himself when I was talking to him about my ex. So it was a thing where he came around to be a handler to me, and exactly how you hear in Hollywood where you have handlers, he came around to be a handler. And because he it was very loose. It wasn't like he was pretending, like it was a thin veil. Like he knew that I knew what his intent and purpose in my life was, and I knew that he knew that I knew. So it wasn't a situation where it's like neither party knows. I knew he was trying to be my handler, and he knew that I knew he was trying to be my handler. And he would answer questions, but the way he would answer the question, it's like he would forget to frame it in like a hypothetical, or I'm thinking this is what it could be type of way. He was legit just answering it like, I know all the answers, I know everything that's going on. So when I said like, why are the police showing up in the food court at the mall where I'm doing interviews, he's like, well, maybe they're worried about their own family. When I said, my ex and these guys that are in this situation, they don't even know what they're in, he said, they know exactly, of course they know what they're in. And he became very defensive. So there are a lot of questions I would ask and a lot of things I would say that would make him very defensive, as if he was defending the whole process of gang stalking or what was going on. But one thing I realized is that through the process of all of this, yes, they follow you around, they coordinate, they go to great lengths to coordinate stalking you. And normally it's pretty easy. When I was friends with Daisy Porras, who's the first person that made contact with me, she wanted me to share locations with her. And it was this like whole nonsense on Instagram at the time where it's like, I share location with my friends type of nonsense. That probably was, again, something probably coordinated, because you have no idea how far they will go. They will go very far to convince a person of something or create an illusion. But I stopped sharing locations with her, and I'm not friends with very many people, so it's very hard to know what my plans are without hacking me, hacking my phone, hacking my devices, hacking my emails, hacking everything. It's very difficult to know. So they have had to do all of that stuff. In dealing with this, I think it's become so normal to me, and it's become such a normal way of me living that it no longer affects me in the way I know. See, I have to play calming music in the background, because I know that telling people this story and coming out and saying what I'm saying right now is like someone hearing a Lifetime movie. It's like unbelievable that this actually exists. But I will go on to say that the reason why they make these movies that they make is because these things absolutely do exist. The movie is made from the fact that they really do exist. So if you think about it, people in the mob, people in the mafia, people in the cartels, people in whatever, this is what they go through. They go through gang stalking. Like, recently, I don't know if it's still right now, there was all of this mob wife style that was going on, and everybody was being a mob wife. But it's like, that's probably what being a mob wife is like. It's having people follow you. It's, maybe your husband's involved in things that you don't know, like who knows, but your life definitely falls apart. And unfortunately, I ended up dating someone that's in this kind of a community. And the other communities that do things like that outside of like organized crime is cults. So when you're in some sort of, we think of secret society like the Illuminati, but let's say some sort of society that helps each other. And it could be something as simple as like how they make unions, how people are union brothers. And so everybody's in the union together. They fight for their rights together. They just support each other. Doesn't mean they necessarily like each other, but they're together. So it's like having a union, only they tightly control and micromanage your life. They control who you're with, who you get to love. They choose the partner for you. They hide behind churches and spiritual structures. The police know all of this stuff. There's some churches that are literally cults. You walk into the church as a new member and the church gets a hold of you, a hold of your life, and now the church starts gang stalking you. Or the church uses, whatever methods to control you. These things are out here. They're out here in Toronto, and people wouldn't believe that because, of course, it's not going to be reported on the news. I think one of the media outlets that's gone through gang stalking is the Toronto Star. I'm not going to say the Sun, the Toronto Star. And I'll tell you, first of all, when I tagged the Toronto Star on my post on my page, they made it not possible to be able to tag them. But before that, I was reaching out to a reporter from there, and the reporter just didn't want to take the story. And I have never heard a person more disillusioned in my life. He said to me, he was like, look they have more drugs than they can even sell. They have people everywhere. Justin Trudeau and Biden couldn't even stop drugs from coming into the country or being stoled. He's like, me printing a story is not going to help anything. It's not going to do anything. The best thing you can do is change your number and, try to stay away from it. And when he said that, I realized he had been gang stalked before. And so he's like an award-winning reporter with all these trophies and medals and titles and 20, 30 years in the industry. And he said that. And he's not the only reporter that has turned me away. Avery Haynes, who reports on all this cartel stuff, turned me away as well. So I definitely feel that this has been going on long enough and many people have tried to stop it. And it's just this infamous thing that people know about. They don't want any problems with them. So with me coming into this thing, I think in the beginning when I was very relentless with not being taken in by it, I think John Ferreira and those people thought it was cute. I think they thought it was cute that I was fighting back. I definitely know that John liked me a little bit more than just, it was like, he's married from what I know. He's married, but I met him through a dating app. I was on a dating app and I was trying to move on from my ex. I was trying to move on with my life. It'd been long enough. It was coming up to a year and I was still crying every single day. So this was a very hard breakup for me. This was someone, like, I feel like we were right before we were going to get engaged. So it was a very difficult breakup. And at the year mark, I was like, look, I got to do something because I can't be stuck on a man for a year. This is insane. I got to move on I got to at least try. And my family was pushing me. Like, even my kids were pushing me, like, you got to try. You got to get out there. And, they just wanted the best for me. And I, obviously you're like, what, for them, I'll try. I would think I was doing it more for them than myself. Got out there and it was like, I just saw John as like, I want to say leading to a friend. It's like, you meet guys, you're not physically attracted to them, but they seem cool enough. And so it's like, it's going to turn into a friend zone thing. And I'm kind of known for that. I do that often in my life where there's, guys I should have probably dated want to date me, but it's like, I just don't feel it and I'm not going to force it. So they become my friend and they're very cool and I'm very cool, etc., etc. So it was turning into a friend zone situation, but I think he ended up liking me a bit too much. And in that happening, I think it hurt him even more when I ghosted him. Like, I think initially I spoke to him maybe 2 weeks and then he was asking too many personal questions and I ghosted him. And then after I ghosted him, I started getting gang stalked and I called a couple days later and I called him and I was like, look, if this has anything to do with my ex or anything like that, like, I have nothing to do with anything, blah, blah, blah. And he played dumb, of course. And then the gang stalking continued, the hacking happened, all of these things. Like, people were coming around taking pictures of me with their phone everywhere I went. And then my mind was like, okay, it's him. You gotta go down to his shop. You gotta just turn up. You gotta just go talk to him. And after that, I talked to him for, I want to say maybe a month or two, trying to understand what this is about. It wasn't like pillow talking, getting to know each other. It was like he was doing the handling. It was like him trying to influence my decisions, him mentioning things that he shouldn't know like what I bought for lunch that day, or what mall I work at, where I work and stuff, like things that he's not supposed to know. It was supposed to frighten me, make me feel like, oh my God, like this person is, I gotta be careful. I gotta, whatever psychological game they were playing. It didn't work. I've gotten rid of him and I've stayed away from him since. And I think what happens is they brutally stalk you, so eventually you come back because you want the pain to end. You want it to end, whatever's going on. So I've just never come back after that. It's been a year and a half since he entered my life or when the gang stalking started to now. It is what it is. Today, it's like, if they catch me and, sometimes I can't help it. Sometimes I need to Google where I'm going before I go. And so they'll end up on, knowing where I'm going. And if they can't really follow me, because I disappear on the highway and I turn my phone off and I use cash, then they'll just wait at one of the places that they know that I'm going. So, it's not the easiest gang stalking me, but it also doesn't trigger me anymore. Cause like after a year and a half, you start seeing gang stalking as a normal part of your day-to-day interactions. And I can't explain that to people, but this is like how it is for me. If I'm driving on the highway and someone is driving really, really close behind me, like, those people that are trying to force you to drive faster on the road, if someone comes up right up behind you, it's happened to all of us. It's not a fun experience. You're like, what the hell is your problem? But then it happens and then you move on with your day because it's happened before. If you've ever been on the road, someone's done it. That's how gang stalking is experienced by me now. So let's say once every 3-4 days or something like that, I'll experience a little bit of gang stalking, people following me around, and I just take it like that. Like somebody drove up really close. I'm like, the hell is your problem? And they go away. They're scared of me. They're terrified of me because people don't last this long. I'm going to be the first person who's ever survived it, but I'm not going to be the last person. I don't think gang stalking is going to exist after me. I'm walking evidence. I'm a walking witness. They don't know what to do with me because they're not really killers. Even John Ferreira is scared of me. They're not killers. It's not like they will push you to suicide. They will push you to mental instability, to paralyzing fear, to anxiety, to paranoia. But I don't think they could have easily broken into my house and stabbed me. Maybe they didn't because I've made so many reports, and the first person that they would come looking for if anything happened to me and my kids would be him. Because there's too many reports, and I've told everybody I've come in contact with, hell, I'm doing lives. So it's out there. There are people who've heard the lives and they don't know everybody who's heard the lives. They don't know everybody who's looking at the videos on YouTube. They don't know. There's too many people and I'm making a lot of noise. I think the police are realizing that they probably should be doing something about this. It's getting bad. But as far as the physical following me around goes, I don't have that. It doesn't have an effect. It's normal. I expect it. I accept it, and I've adapted to it. It's just part of my aquarium now. And that might sound crazy to some people, but it's okay. I mean, once something becomes normal, you don't see it as bad anymore. It just is what it is. It's just like the grass is green. I don't see how it could be bad or it could be good. It's just green. The sun is shining. It might burn my eyes to look at the sun, but it's a part of our world. I'll put glasses. I'll make a change to accommodate it. So this is how I live my life now, which is insane that I got used to it. I never thought that would happen. I thought I would wait for it to stop, but I've just gotten used to the odds that it will happen now. It's not every day. It's not guaranteed. They can't really predict me the way that they used to. And I've also figured a lot of things out. I have explored the world of gang stalking and they've thrown everything at me, including the kitchen sink. I've seen it all. I've seen what methods they use. I feel bad to say this. I could have my own group now. I could do this. So bad. I could do this. I know how to get people to join. I'm intelligent. I would do a much better job. And I think maybe these are the kind of things that made John Ferreira threatened by me. I would never do such a heinous thing. This pushes people to like mental instability. But I'm saying I've seen so much of it. I could write a book. I could write a manual. I could do it myself. I could replicate the process and probably do it quite well. They can't block me. They can't take my will to live. They can't take my will to work. They can't take my business. They can't take anything from me. They don't make eye contact with me when they walk around. As a matter of fact, I don't think that is by accident. I think John has told these people that I'm demonic and I'm satanic and that I'm possessed. I know. They won't look me in the eyes anymore. Even if I talk to them, they will look away, they'll look down, they'll look the other way. They just like, they're sitting in position, they don't want to. A lot of them, there was, okay, so there's this method they use when they don't know where you're going, that they just wait everywhere you might be. So they'll put somebody at your local gas station, somebody at your grocery store, somebody like, here, there, everywhere. And when you turn up and you see the people that are waiting there, when I would turn up, they would be pissed. Like, I mean, mad. It was almost like 10 people were going out for the day and they were hoping that I would not show up. Like, they would be upset. Like, they'd be like, God damn, how does it have to be me now? And I think karma has kicked in very swiftly and bad things were happening to people that were doing this to me. And so people were having car accidents, car lucks. It was almost like if you were there for the day, if you were the one that was there, death was following you. It wasn't just that you were followed by bad luck. Death, the energy of death was following you. There are things that I've heard happen since this that have made even me more nervous of me than I am of gang stalking. I'm not joking. So there was a complex, a builder complex across from us in Vaughan. The entire thing burnt down to the nails, the studs. There's no foundation. The entire thing burnt into the ground. The news helicopters were flying around that day. Nothing was left. Not a single piece of wood was left. It burned to the ground. My neighbors who were involved with gang stalking and making me feel uncomfortable, they wouldn't look at me anymore. They wouldn't be outside when I'm outside. If I was outside, they'd rush back in. My neighbors stopped sleeping with the lights off. Yo, one time I was in the backyard on my deck and I saw my neighbor sleeping in his living room with the lights on at like 2-3 in the morning. And that was every single night. They would leave the lights on even in the day. So like people, if someone came to my house, they'd be like, why are your neighbors like lights on? And I'm like, he sleeps in the living room. So the wife and the baby stopped sleeping at their house. I mean, there were times it would be like midnight and I'm hearing the baby screaming at the top of its lungs next door. It's been so much supernatural, crazy things happening. I haven't said this, but I'll say it on this live because, it's interesting. I was drinking coffee on my deck one morning. And a bunch of crows, I'm not lying, 50 to 70 of them, a group. It was so dark that when they flew by, it would cast shadows in the air. And they flew from house to house to house in the neighborhood, but they were skipping houses. Hey YouTube, check out Can Boutique for super trendy dresses and genuine furs on clearance as low as 70% off. Prices starting as low as $27 Canadian. Visit www.shopcan.com. I'm demonic and I'm satanic and that I'm possessed. I know. They won't look me in the eyes anymore. Even if I talk to them, they will look away, they'll look down, they'll look the other way. They just like, they're sitting in position, they don't want to. A lot of them, there was, okay, so there's this method they use when they don't know where you're going, that they just wait everywhere you might be. So they'll put somebody at your local gas station, somebody at your grocery store, somebody like, here, there, everywhere. And when you turn up and you see the people that are waiting there, when I would turn up, they would be pissed. Like, I mean, mad. It was almost like 10 people were going out for the day and they were hoping that I would not show up. Like, they would be upset. Like, they'd be like, God damn, how does it have to be me now? And I think karma has kicked in very swiftly, and bad things were happening to people that were doing this to me. And so people were having car accidents, car lucks. It was almost like if you were there for the day, if you were the one that was there, death was following you. It wasn't just that you were followed by bad luck. Death, the energy of death was following you. There are things that I've heard happen since this that have made even me more nervous of me than I am of gang stalking. I'm not joking. So there was a complex, a builder complex across from us in Vaughan. The entire thing burnt down to the nails, the studs. There's no foundation. The entire thing burnt into the ground. The news helicopters were flying around that day. Nothing was left. Not a single piece of wood was left. It burned to the ground. My neighbors who were involved with gang stalking and making me feel uncomfortable, they wouldn't look at me anymore. They wouldn't be outside when I'm outside. If I was outside, they'd rush back in. My neighbors stopped sleeping with the lights off. Yo, one time I was in the backyard on my deck and I saw my neighbor sleeping in his living room with the lights on at like 2-3 in the morning. And that was every single night. They would leave the lights on even in the day. So like people, if someone came to my house, they'd be like, why are your neighbors like lights on? And I'm like, he sleeps in the living room. So the wife and the baby stopped sleeping at their house. I mean, there were times it would be like midnight and I'm hearing the baby screaming at the top of its lungs next door. It's been so much supernatural, crazy things happening. You know, I haven't said this, but I'll say it on this live because, you know, it's interesting. I was drinking coffee on my deck one morning and a bunch of crows, I'm not lying, 50 to 70 of them, a group. It was so dark that when they flew by, it would cast shadows in the air. And they flew from house to house to house in the neighborhood, but they were skipping houses. Some of the houses were skipped. They flew from house to house to house, skipping houses across the neighborhood. And I was like, those houses that they landed on, those were the neighbors that would, like my neighbor right next door followed me, used to follow me to work. Like he chased me down one night, got in his little red Tercel and chased me all over, getting from my house, which is up the street, down to Vaughan Mills and back home. And when I pulled up in the driveway, the man pulled up beside me, could not look me in the eye from that day forward. It was his car because I memorized the license plate. I could not believe that my neighbor, my own neighbor, and from that day I've been in disbelief of like what's going on in my life. It's movie worthy is what I'll say. But there were other times where so many things have happened. My daughter calls me from school one day and tells me this child was in a car crash. One car hit him. The first one was a hit and run. One car hit him on one side and he bounced into the other lane, and another car going the other direction hit him again. He died on the spot. These are the kind of things, the kind of accidents that are happening. Businesses will be thriving and then the business will be making no money. And I mean no money at all. Not a single person coming in. It's like businesses just collapse out of nowhere, like bailiff letters on the door. It has been insane. The kind of things that I've seen happen. And I think these things have been happening specifically to people who have been involved in following me or intimidating me in some way. And I think that they've associated these things to perhaps I'm a witch and I'm the one doing it. And I'll tell you, it's so ridiculous to have to say this. I do not know how to do spell work. I feel ridiculous saying it. I don't know how to do spell work, but I am very prayerful. I would describe myself as a yogi. I say this all the time. I meditate a lot. I have inner peace. I'm very stable and very grounded. I'm a kind person with strong boundaries. And I think people don't usually equate the two. They don't equate being kind and loving and peaceful to having very strong, unbreakable boundaries. And when they see the two together, I think it can be confusing, it can be perplexing, because you keep having the inclination to keep trying your luck. Because I look like the prototype of the kind of person that you can bully. And then at the same time, I'm also the prototype of the kind of person you should never fucking bully ever in your life. And I think they're noticing that. And they continue noticing it. And they continue to have to try, because they've made a contract with some very serious, dangerous people. And they do not want to, cannot afford to not fulfill that contract. These are people that if you work with, you never get out of bed with them. You work for them for life. And I think that's not communicated to people up front. People find it out later, so they think they could come in and then they could leave, but it's for life. They can't go anywhere. This is what their job is. And those people control their life entirely. And so, you know, this level of abuse has only made me stronger, you know. I've always been a person who meditates and prays very often and on a very, you know, strict schedule. But I've also, you know, now have a very real personal relationship with God. And I feel God in a very real way. I feel very connected. You know, and perhaps that's it. Perhaps that's what they've gone ahead and twisted and said it is. You know, this is who I am. This is who I am. I'm happy to introduce the world to me. The real me that I get to show you guys. But I mean, I think a lot of people know the real me, that I am very kind and warm and generous and a generally happy, peaceful person. These people have really pissed me off, and it's taken me being pissed off to get the justice that I need, that I deserve. But also for people to know their boundaries with me and to know what is safe to do and what it's not safe to do, because it's not safe to gang stalk me. It's not a safe thing to do. It's not a smart thing to do. It's not a wise thing to do. So I hope that people get the message of that. More so, I know that right now my ex is being heavily gang stalked as well. So on my YouTube, my YouTube is God's Way 1019, God's space Way 1019. In everything, I have a video on there that talks about what it's like to be gang stalked in detail, and someone can just check that out and just see like what this thing is about. This thing is crazy. Yeah, it's not easy. I feel like I can feel his anxiety. I feel like I can feel his depression and what he's going through. I make these videos for people like him who are going through a tough time and who don't know how to manage it and who need a way to get to where I'm at. And I always say, you don't have to wait for gang stalking to stop. You either force it to stop, or you can do both. Simultaneously adapt to it and force it to stop. Simultaneously. It's a lot of pressure to put somebody under. You know, I found my peace and my solace in God, in the Most High, in my God. You know, my mother, who I refer to as Mother, who's the universe, who is the source of life and death, you know, death and rebirth is what I'll call it. So, you know, I pray for him and what he's going through, and I send so much love, as I do to everybody, every gang stalker going through this kind of thing. Gang stalking victim going through this kind of thing. I send a lot of love. I send a lot of hope. I send a lot of resilience. You know, do your best. I offer up a lot of, helpful hints and tips. Don't stop working no matter what. Don't stop hustling. Don't stop surviving. Don't stop making money. Don't let that slip out of your hands. That is all you have in a lot of cases. Especially if you've worked super hard, take your time. Take your time with yourself. Keep building. If you're in a state of rebuilding, keep rebuilding, doing what you can do at all times. Take care of yourself. Be strong. That's what it takes is strength. I have these spirit cards that I read all the time at the end of my lives. They are called spirit messages, spirit oracle cards. And I just pulled a few this morning, so I wanted to read this one, which kind of ties into what I'm saying about being strong. Resilience is one of the strongest qualities you have. It has gotten you through so many trials and tribulations in the past, and it will continue to do so. Lean on that inner tower of strength anytime that you need this. You've got this. I love these cards. These cards came after I was already through the process. I think they would have done well if I was, while I was in it, but it is what it is. But yeah, resilience is one of my strongest qualities, to be honest with you. It truly is. I can get through anything. I'm very militant minded. I just keep moving. I have a soldier's mentality. Nothing really slows me down, and I don't stay sick very long. I'm never sick. I'm never, so, yeah. Be strong, be resilient, keep moving. It's all you have. As long as you keep moving, you'll move through it. I am not in the same place where we started. They've run out of money. The person who was paying them is not paying them anymore. The job's not getting done. There's no proof that I've actually gone through anything. They followed me around. So it is what it is. My phone's dying, so let me read the last card. I love these cards so much. No matter how much you are being tested or pushed right now, stand your ground and push back. Believe in your own integrity and self-worth so much that no one can get in your way. Have the confidence to move forward. You can and will do this. Please, look, just keep going. That's all God told me. I didn't have to do anything. It was be strong, keep going, don't give up. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. That's it. That's all they cared about. Keep going, keep going. And God told me everything that was happening step by step so I can truly put everything together. God told me everything that was happening. God explained to me step by step, this is what's happening. This is who's doing it. This is what this is about. Bit by bit, the whole time, I was never in the dark about anything. And it was amazing. And I got to do it on my own time. And, I'll say, and I thought about this in the car on my way, out today. My proudest achievement in life thus far is not anything that I've built. It's not even my resilience. Well, it's part of it is my resilience. My proudest accomplishment thus far is that while going through hell, I never renounced God. I never said God doesn't exist, because that is what they wanted me to do, because God was protecting me the whole time and they did not want me to know that. That's my proudest achievement. God has walked with me step by step, hand in hand, elbow in elbow the entire time. It has been an amazing experience. It has life-changing, life-altering. I am where I am now, and I can never go back to who or what I was before. I am very aware of the very real power of the Most High God. With all odds against me, there is no reason that I should be so fresh-faced and happy and confident and calm. There is no reason why, but God. I feel initiated into a very special sisterhood, a position of very high honor, to be called on by the Most High, to be favored, and to have such a beautiful life ahead of me. Not only have I not lost hope in life, but I know that the future is exceedingly bright for me and that only good things are coming. And I am so proud of my relationship with God. It is insane. I should not be here right now, for sure. For sure. Everybody knows that. Everybody who knows that I've been gang stalked or knows what gang stalking is or has a gang stalking story or is involved with these people, they all agree that I should not be here right now. I should not be here right now. So I thank God with everything in me publicly, because God was there for me privately and publicly. So, I want to thank the Most High God. If you guys see me posting pictures ever and it's like, it looks scary to you, that's just the stuff that I believe in. And that doesn't make it bad because the imagery is scary at all. So, read energy. Don't worry about what things look like, because let me tell you, devil worshippers will never tell you that they're devil worshippers. Devil worshippers just look like people like John Ferreira. People who are religious, who carry a crucifix, who talk about God, people who say they believe in Jesus, people who have churches that they hide behind. Those are truly devil worshippers. It's not people like me who come out and who put their faith full on out there for all to see while being a very kind, gentle soul. So I'm putting all of this out there. I hope that somebody somewhere gets something out of it, some strength, some faith. I wasn't always like this. I'll be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I was calm throughout the entire experience of being gang stalked, and that's because of the advice that I give you guys. That's because I am a yogi. That is because I meditate a lot. That is because I'm mindful. That is because I'm peaceful. And that's because I learn energy. I know how to use energy. I'm an alchemist. So, take your time, be calm, get control of your situation, make a plan, plan of exit, you're not going to sit and live here forever. You got to either force it to end or you got to leave. And be strong and never ever lose faith. You just got to continue going through. That's all I had to do. I just had to continue going through, continue moving forward. That's it. That's all you got to do. Continue moving forward. And bombs are going to go off at your feet. It's going to be terrifying. God is not going to let one bomb touch your feet. You're not going to be sick. You're not going to be all those things that people want you to be. You're not going to lose your mental health. But although in time, you're going to slowly but surely, you're going to get there. You're going to push yourself. You're going to have improvements. Things are going to get better. Promise you they get better. You just keep walking through. I did a whole rebrand in the middle of this thing. I had a body transformation. I was losing weight. I started taking better care of myself. What was I not doing? I was going out to events. I rejoined the world after a period of being to myself, confidently and alone. I went to events alone. I would just, all of those things that I said, and watch a few of my other videos, especially like the survival guides, especially, how to emotionally get through it, the emotional stuff, the meditation stuff, all of those things matter, especially the prayer stuff. The prayer was a huge part of my life. God moves when you pray. That's why I can still be here. But all of it is important. I give a lot of tips. I give you guys a lot. Okay. So, thank you for watching my videos. Do like in the YouTube comments so that, that is the only way I communicate with people at the moment. And my YouTube is God's Way 1019. So do check that out as well. If you're from Instagram, and, I post it everywhere on my social media, on my Instagram, whatnot, so that people know what's going on. And it's a very important thing to me. So while networking and while working with people, they have to understand that I have to tell my story. So if it's an influencer that has an issue with me telling my story, then, it is what it is. But that's just going to be someone I'm not going to work with. But we are going to move forward telling our story on our on the social media page, and I think it needs to be heard, because it happened in Toronto, and a lot of my customers were the ones that, I went through all of this stuff with. So, thank you for tuning in. Again, my YouTube is God's, Gods Way 1019. And I tell my entire gang stalking story, and there's a lot of, it's not doom and gloom like other gang stalkers are like, tell these scary stories. My videos are funny. You know, sometimes I make a lot of fun of the situation. It's a lot of stupidity. My videos are informative. My videos are healing. They're helpful. Like, it's a whole gamut of stuff. And I do enjoy doing it now. I didn't like doing it in the beginning, but I like it. So it's a very yogi-centric type page. So I'll talk about spirituality and like meditation and stuff like that, but not always. I understand the real world and that people have different beliefs, right? But anyways, thank you to the last person who's watching. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Can Boutique. And I'm a gang stalking survivor, and this is real. This happened to me, and they still kind of stalk me here and there, but you know, it is what it is. Thank you, and again, check out the YouTube.